It's now time for our morning devotion. Would ask the doorkeepers to secure the chamber at this time. Senators, please take your seats as we prepare the chamber for our morning devotion. It is now my distinct honor to call upon the distinguished senator from the 52nd District to lead us in our pledge and introduce our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will you join me in the pledge to the American flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the Georgian flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Well, good morning. It's not only an honor to serve in this distinguished chamber, but it's also an honor when we have the ability to have a chaplain of the day. But it's also a distinct honor when your chaplain of the day is also a hero of our military. And I met Jeff Struecker back when about 2 years ago. He was speaking at an event in Rome, which I was also had the opportunity to speak at. And we stayed in contact during that time. And then when my youngest son, Michael, who is in his second week of airborne training right now, was at Fort Benning during basic training, we found out he was going to get Thanksgiving Day off. And we wanted to take him and some of his buddies somewhere to get them off post. Well, we contacted Jeff Struecker, and he opened up the fellowship hall from his church. They also were able to take some of the guys from Fort Benning to his church, which he provided them with books. He has a very open heart for a man that has seen a lot of what he has seen, and I want to share just a moment with you about retired Major Jeff Struecker. If you've seen the movie Black Hawk Down, you've seen Major Struecker's character portrayed. He was a sergeant during the time. He was the ranger that led the Humvee column 3 times into the combat zone on the rescue missions. He was born in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and at the age of 18 enlisted in the U.S. Army as an infantryman, and he retired with over 22 years of active federal service. And he currently serves as the Associate Pastor of Ministry Development at Calvary Baptist Church. Now, he served for 10 years in the 75th Ranger Regiment in positions from private to platoon sergeant. And while serving in this unit, he competed in the Best Ranger competition and won that competition in 1996. If anyone's familiar with that, that's all you can say about somebody who wins a Ranger competition is hooah. That's an impressive feat. He also served as assistant instructor of military science at the University of Louisville and was recognized in 1998 as the U.S. Army ROTC Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. Throughout his career, he's received numerous military honors, as you can imagine. Just a few is the Combat Infantryman's Badge, Pathfinder's Badge, Master Parachutist Wings, Military Freefall Master Parachutist Wings, British Parachutist Wings, Thai Parachutist Wings, and German Parachutist Wings, and as well as a German Sports Efficiency Badge. He has also awarded several other decorations, including the Bronze Star, Southwest Asia Service Medal, Kuwaiti Liberation Medal, Gulf War on Terrorism Service Medal, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal. And he's also seen combat in Operation Just Cause in Canada, Operation Iris Gold in Kuwait, and Operation Gothic Serpent in Mogadishu, Somalia, which was featured in the movie Black Hawk Down. It's a true honor to have him here as our minister of the day. After Somalia and after winning the Best Ranger competition, Jeff Struecker felt the calling to the ministry. He went to seminary. Following seminary, he felt the calling back into the Army, where he served as a chaplain to the Ranger Regiment, retired last year, and now he's with us today. I'm going to ask for a point of personal privilege at the close of our session today and show you a little 5-minute clip about him and his service. Will you please welcome retired Major Chaplain Jeff Struecker.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, Senators. It's an honor to be with you. I'd like to tell you why I think this state is an amazing state. As you heard, I grew up in the Midwest. My wife and I are high school sweethearts. We met in my hometown in Iowa, and I joined the Army while I was still in high school. I showed up to the Atlanta airport in September of 1987, and I was shocked when I got off of the airplane at about 10 o'clock at night with 100-degree temperatures and about 100% humidity. There's nothing like that where I come from. But I tell you what, I quickly fell in love with the state of Georgia, not because of the terrain. You have incredible mountains, you have coasts, you have plains, you have it all here in this state. Not because of some of the unprecedented military facilities that are here in the state of Georgia, all over the state. But it was actually the people of Georgia that I fell in love with. I spent 10 years consecutively here, as you just heard. And then the Army started moving me around, moved me all over the country, and I kept asking for them to send me back to Columbus, Georgia, and back to Fort Benning. And just last year, my wife and I, who's my high school sweetheart, I said, she's never known anything but the Army and our hometown in a rural town of northwest Iowa. When it came time for us to retire, I said, Dawn, you've been following me all over the country, all over the world, really. Where would you like to settle down and to plant roots? And she didn't hesitate when she said, I want to stay in Georgia for the rest of my life. So I proudly call myself now a citizen of this great state. It's an honor to be with you, and so I want to tell you, you all know this. I don't need to really dwell on this point very much, so I'll be very brief about it. The people that I know in the state of Georgia, many of them, in fact, almost all of them, are struggling. Most of them are struggling financially. Most of them are struggling with concerns about the future. And I am convinced, having seen what I've seen all over the world, that when people are confused, when they're struggling, they look to a leader to give them some advice. I'm also convinced that those of you in this room, in this building, are the leaders that can help this state, help set the people of this state on a course for our future. And I think it is an awesome, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word, both a terrible and an amazing task that's set before you to lead the people of this state. And what I'd like to do this morning is to just open this session with a word of prayer. Prayer that God would be with you, that He'd guide you, that He would lead you, and that you would lead the people of this great state. So if you don't mind, would you pray with me? God in heaven, leadership is an awesome responsibility, especially when we understand that we will all one day stand before you and give an account of what we've done in our life. And so, God, would you use the men and women in this room? Would you lead them very clearly when controversial legislation comes before this chamber? God, would you be present in this room? Would you lead the people of this room? And as a result, would you use the men and women in this room to lead this state? And God, would you be pleased by the legislation that comes out of this chamber? I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. It's been a great honor to be with you.
If I may have the Senate's attention for just one moment, I would like to recognize the senator from the 42nd to present us our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very pleased to introduce Dr. Frank M. Pickens, who is here for the second time at a minimum, maybe more, but I know him and have come to appreciate seeing him out running in my neighborhood. He's got his undergraduate degree at Wofford College, his medical degree from the great Emory University School of Medicine in District 42. He can now practices at the Georgia Institute of Technology Student Health Services. So we have a host of great academic institutions represented in Dr. Pickens. He's a member of the American College of Physicians, and he's also a member of the Board of Directors of the Atlanta Braves 400 Club. So a good person, and we're glad to have him back. Dr. Pickens.
Well, good morning. It's certainly an honor for me to be here with you today, and I want to thank you for all of your service to the state of Georgia. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Thanks a lot.
That's why we canceled practice.
Senator Stone has a group for President.
Senator from the 23rd, we have a special group we would like to recognize at this time. The Secretary will read a resolution.
683 by Senator Stone of the 23rd and Carter of the 42nd. Resolution recognizing and commending the Burke County High School football team on their Class AAA football state championship and for other purposes. Whereas, through perseverance and iron determination, the Burke County Bears finished their 14-1 season with the first football state championship for Burke County High School. And whereas in the state semifinal game, Burke County scored on 9 of its first 11 possessions and rushed for over 500 yards. And whereas the Bears finished the 2011 season with 666 points scored for one of the highest totals in state football history. And whereas 12 players placed on various Augusta Chronicle all-area teams. And whereas Coach Parker is the Augusta Chronicle Coach of the Year and AAA Georgia Coach of the Year. And whereas as this magnificent team earned its well-deserved reputation for excellence by performing with courage and precision over months of training and competition, it is abundantly proper to call them champions. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body congratulate the Burke County High School football team for winning the 2011 AAA championship and extend their sincerest best wishes for future success.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Great to have Burke County representing our great state as state champions, and to recognize them, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 23rd.
Thank you, Governor. It's a distinct honor to be here today with some of Burke County's finest. We are honored to recognize the Burke County Bears, their coach, their 4 captains here, and about 100 of their players, fellow teammates in the gallery. If you would, join in welcoming the Burke County Bears to the Senate. On Saturday, December 10th, Waynesboro was a deserted town. That's because half of the population was up here in Atlanta at the Dome watching the Bears play. It was a great game. They came from behind with true competitive spirit and beat Peach County 28-14. And now I'd like to introduce Coach Eric Parker, who has been instrumental in leading this team to victory. He has cared about his players. He has made sure that they had proper nutrition. He has been honored by the national media. So, Coach Parker, the floor is yours.
Thank you. On behalf of the Burke County Bears, Burke County High School, the community of Waynesboro, Georgia, we bring you greetings, and we certainly thank you for the opportunity to come be recognized. To Senator Stone, Representative Gloria Frazier, and Governor Deal, we are very appreciative of the invitation. Obviously, being a small town in the state of Georgia, you know that our citizens are very passionate about what we do, and we're so happy to bring so much pride to a small community. And for those of you that are wondering where's Waynesboro, Georgia, we are about 30 miles south of Augusta, Georgia. What I'd like to do right now is just introduce 4 young men that are our team captains and represent us. Obviously, we have several dozen more. We've also been joined by our Board of Education, our superintendent, our high school principal, our athletic director. So you can see this was a big event for us. But anyway, introducing senior captain, quarterback Corey Mayton. Senior defensive end Devontae Lambert. Senior linebacker Devontrez Wilkerson. And senior linebacker Derwin Butler. Again, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to honor us, and we certainly do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, well done, well done. Appreciate that. Let's pose for a picture on the steps here, guys. Are there any unanimous consents? We have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions that are before you. Is there objection? Without objection, the resolutions on the consent calendar are therefore adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw or commit? Oh, he's not. Okay. Senator from the 46, we have a special order. What purpose you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 46.
Read the caption.
House Bill number 46 by Representative Jacobs of the 80th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 10 of Title 24 of the OCGA relating to security and attendance and witness and protection and preservation of evidence and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 46th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is a bill that passed unanimously in the House and the Senate last session. It's a uniform act that's promoted by the Georgia Bar Association. It involves discovery, which is the production of documents and the taking of depositions in civil lawsuits. What it does is it makes it easier to issue subpoenas for these purposes of taking depositions out of state. It eliminates the need for you to go to the judge in another state and have the subpoena issued. You can go to your local judge and get the subpoena, and then just go to the clerk of court in the out-of-state district to take that deposition. The only change in the Senate version and the House version is we added a reciprocity clause that we would only extend this privilege to other states that give the same privilege to Georgia residents. I'm happy to take any questions. I'd urge your adoption of this act.
Chair recognizes the Senator from the 42nd for a question.
Will the senator yield?
I yield.
Is it not true that this bill will reduce the cost of litigating cases and be good for both business, lawyers, and other people who use our legal system?
Yes, Senator. This is supported by the business community and the state bar because it is a matter of convenience to lessen some of the burdensome red tape going through the litigation process.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from the 33rd.
Senator Yield.
Yes, I yield.
I hesitate as a banker to ask a lawyer a question. I'm not sure it's legal. Let me ask you this, though, Mr. Chairman. If a person were to be wronged by a person in Georgia and were left owing a substantial amount of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the state that he lives in, even though the transaction took place there, does not have reciprocity with Georgia, would he have a problem getting the subpoena served in Georgia?
He shouldn't have a problem, but if we do not pass this act, he would have to come to the Georgia Superior Court judge in the county in which the deposition were to be taken and get that court to order the subpoena.
One last question, Mr. Chairman. Sure. I think that clears it up. So currently, he would have to come here, even though the transaction took place there, he would have to come here, or his lawyer would have to go to the county in which the person lives.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
No further questions. Excuse me. There is. Senator from the 15th is recognized.
Senator Yield.
I yield.
Senator, I was just asking if you look on page 5, line 139.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry. It's page 5, 139, line
Yes, sir.
139. I'm just curious about the date, July 1st last year. Does that matter?
If you read down a little bit further there, it discusses what happens if we pass that evidence code. Then the effective date would be January 1st of 2013.
I saw the 13.
That evidence code did pass, so that would be the effective date.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
No further questions,
I
Senator.
yield the well. Thank you.
The senator from the 46th district has moved the Senate agree to the House Bill 46, agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute. All of those in favor of the motion, this will be final passage, will vote aye. Those opposed, no, and the Secretary will unlock the machine. Senator from the 54th will stand by. On the senator's motion to agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute, the yeas are 48 and the nays are 0, and this bill, AMC Rex constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th for special order.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate disagree to the House substitute on Senate Bill 203.
Read the caption. This is a disagree.
Senate Bill 203 by Senators Bethel of the 54th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 23 of Title 33 of the OCGA relating to licensing of agents, agencies, subagents, counselors, and adjusters and for other purposes.
Is there objection? The Senate is disagreeing with the House substitute. Without objection, the Senate has disagreed. Send it back to the House. Are there any senators wishing to rise on a point of personal privilege? Yeah, he's not going to do it. Recognize the majority leader.
Adjourn until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. is what the majority leader's moved. Read the announcements.
12 p.m. rules is canceled. 1 p.m. finance is canceled. 1 p.m. judiciary, 4:50 in the Capitol. 2 p.m. natural resources and the environment, 4:50 in the Capitol. 2 p.m. banking and financial institutions is canceled. 2 p.m. science and technology is canceled. 3 p.m. health and human services is canceled.
Chair recognizes the appropriations chairman, the senator from the 4th.
Really local. This morning you were delivered a loaf of cinnamon bread from the fine folks in Effingham County, and I hope you'll use that in good health and enjoy it. And also this afternoon at 5 o'clock, the reception with some really down-home cooking type items for you this afternoon at the depot. So we hope you'll come by and speak to about 100, 150 folks here from Effingham County. So come by and say hello to them. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Don't miss Effingham County, one of our finer counties. We're glad to welcome them. Chair recognizes the senator from the 8th for an announcement. Please give the senator your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to remind everybody United Way is at the Capitol today, and they have a luncheon at 12 o'clock. And they have Phil Smith coming over from the Concord Coalition, which was a coalition I think Senator Nunn, Senator Tolleson could tell us better, but I think Senator Nunn was one of the founders of that, and it's fighting for some sensible efforts on the deficit at the federal level. But anyway, United Way is here, and Senator Chance needs to make sure he's there to see his United Way chairman. Thank you.
Senator from the 16th, sounds like there's a little internal something going on there. Chair recognizes Senator from the 52nd. Please give the senator your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. And again, I want to thank Major Struker for being with us here today. We have a little 5-minute video clip that really portrays what it was like in Somalia and the role that Jeff Struker played there. And for this ministry, I thought it would be a little more appropriate, since there is some combat action in this video, to do it at a point of personal privilege. And so I again appreciate him being there, and I think the video will speak more than the words I could say.
Roll the tape. I think we're missing the sound, but sorry.
I led this 3-vehicle convoy out of the target field. As soon as I made that turn on the main road, we got hit from every direction. PFC Paulson was swinging his 50 cal in every direction, just trying to shoot back in 50 directions at once. So I shouted to Paulson and to Pilla, Paulson, turn your gun to the left. Pilla, you take everything to the right. The next intersection that we hit, there was a man, a Somalian, with an AK-47 within 8 feet of our vehicle. He pointed it at Paulson's back. He was going to shoot Paulson. Dominic Pilla saw him point that weapon at Paulson. That guy saw Dominic Pilla with his machine gun pointed at him. And they looked at each other eye to eye, and then they both fired. And both people dropped dead. Pilla was shot in the head. He fell over into the lap of Specialist Monahan. At that same moment, my platoon sergeant called me on the radio. He said, "Hey, Sergeant Struker, what's going on? Where are you?" And I said, "I've got one guy who's hit, and he's down." He called me again, and he said, "Who is it, and what's his status?" I realized that I had just told everybody in the operation that we had just taken our first casualty. We had just lost our first soldier.
Super 6-1 is hit. He is hit. Walcott's bird is hit. Black Hawk down. We got a Black Hawk down.
It's great. Thank you, Jeff. It's a real honor. Thanks for your service to our country as well. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Are there any other announcements? The majority leaders move. We stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. All of those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.